Hello everyone, welcome to another video in my income tax series. My name is Gaurav Lohia and I'm a chartered accountant. Today we are going to start a new chapter, that is residential status and scope of total income. In today's video we are going to cover the residential status section 6 of the Income Tax Act. So let's get started. First we will discuss about the residential status of individuals, right? So residential status, section 6, residential status. So section 6.1 of the Income Tax Act gives out basic conditions. Gives out what? Basic conditions. Gives out basic conditions. Before coming to section 6 subsection 1, what is residential status and why do we need residential status? So if you recall, in our previous videos we have discussed the steps to compute the income tax, right? In that we had 15 steps, and the step one in computation of income taxes is determination of residential status. Now why residential status is required is because income of a person is taxable in a country only if that person is resident in that country. There are exceptions to this rule, but generally an income of a person is taxable in a country only if that person is resident in that country, right? For example, let's say I am an UK citizen. I live in England. I live in London, England. I am a UK citizen. The income I earn in UK will be taxed in UK only, right? It cannot be taxed in India. Why it cannot be taxed in India? I am not resident in India. First of all, yes, the act is not applicable in UK, but however, since I am not a resident in India, my income cannot be taxed in India, right? I have to be a resident in India for that matter. Now, citizenship and residential status are two different concepts, right? Citizenship and residential status are two different concepts. One person can be a citizen of India or citizen of one country, but they can be non-resident in that country. And it could be the other way around as well, that I am a resident in a country but not a citizen of that country, right? To give you an example, let's say, okay, few years ago there was a news saying that Akshay Kumar is actually a citizen of Canada, right? So Akshay, assuming that is correct, I'm not sure whether it is correct or not, assuming that is correct, Akshay Kumar is a citizen of Canada, but he is resident in India and paying taxes in India, right? On the other hand, a person can be a citizen of any country and resident in India. That is what we discussed. So on the other hand, a person can be citizen of India but not a resident of India. Say for example, let's take Virat Kohli for example, right? He is a citizen of India, no doubt, but recently there have been news that he has shifted his residence to UK, in London, right? So in this case, though he is citizen of India, he may not be a resident in India because of certain conditions, obviously, right? What are those conditions? We will look. And this residential status, that has to be determined every year, right? It is not that if I'm resident in this year, I'll continue to be resident, or if I'm not resident in this year, I'll continue to be non-resident. It is not like that. Every previous year or every assessment year, you have to determine the residential status of an individual independently. This year I might be non-resident, next year I might be resident, then I might not be, then I might be non-resident, right? So it has to be determined every year. So now, when we talk about residential status of individuals, there are two major sections or subsections which we have to discuss. One is section 6 subsection 1, which gives out the basic conditions. One is section 6 subsection 1, which gives out the basic conditions. Second is section 6 subsection 6, which gives out the additional condition, which gives out the additional conditions. First, let us see what are the basic conditions, right? What are the basic conditions? First condition, more than or equal to 182 days. If a person, when we say person, we are only talking about individual here, right? Or let me say, if an individual stays in India for 182 days or more, stays in India for 182 days or more during the previous year or relevant previous year, we can also say for more understanding purpose, relevant previous year, right? During the year, the first condition is during the year, during the relevant previous year, the individual must stay for more than or equal to 182 days. More than or equal to 182 days, right? The wordings of the law says 182 days or more. That means either 182 days or more than this, that is more than 182 days, they should stay in India in the relevant previous year. Remember this. So if you are calculating income for previous year 25-26, then in the previous year 25-26, they should have stayed for 182 days or more. That is the first condition. Or remember this, it is or, not and. Or the second condition. What is the second condition? Second condition is more than or equal to 60 days in relevant previous year. More than or equal to 60 days in relevant previous year. And remember here it is and more than or equal to 365 days in 4 previous years before relevant previous year. So, second condition. First condition is 182 days or more during the relevant previous year. Second condition is 60 days or more in relevant previous year. 60 days or more in relevant previous year, and 60 days or more in relevant previous year, and 65 days or more, 365 days or more in the 4 previous years before the relevant previous year. Before the relevant previous year, right? These are the two basic conditions. Any one of the conditions should be satisfied to be a resident. Any one of the conditions should be satisfied to be a resident, right? If a person satisfies only one condition, first condition, they are resident. If a person satisfied only second condition, they are a resident, right? Now, to calculate this 60 days or 182 days or 365 days, the person need not be in continuous residential or continuous, the period of stay in India need not be continuous. It can be scattered. Let's say 1 month in April, 1 month in June, 1 month in December, 1 month in September, 1 month in March. It can be scattered. It need not be continuous. It need not be continuous period of 182 days or 60 days or 365 days. Scattered, it also counted. Next, another point in this is date of departure and arrival is considered to be stayed in India. That means if I arrive on 1/4/25, let's say, if I arrive on 1/4 and leave on 34/25, my period of stay would be 30 days. My period of stay would be 30 days. So I have let's say on 1/4/25, I come at 10 a.m. I come at 10 a.m. Whole day I am not in India. I am only there in India for part of the day. Let's say 12 hours. It need not be 12 hours. Even let's say it is 1 hour. Even then that day would be considered. And same with leaving. If I leave at, let's say, 1 a.m. I am only there in India for 1 hour on 30th. Still it would be considered. Right? So date of arrival and date of departure will be considered as a part of staying in India. As a part of staying in India. Next. These are the two basic conditions. Right? Let's look at couple of examples first. Before we move on, let's look at couple of examples here. What are the couple of examples? One example, let's say a person let's say arrival is on 1/4/25, departure is 28/9/25. 28/9/25. What are the number of days? It comes to 181 days. It comes to 181 days. So in this case, the first condition is not satisfied. The first condition is not satisfied, that is more than or equal to 182 days. Right? We are not looking at the second condition right now because of lack of information in the question. Lack of information in the question. Second, let's say assume that instead of 28th, this person leaves on 29th. Then the number of days become 182 days. Then the first condition is satisfied. Condition 1 satisfied. Then the first condition is satisfied, right? So we saw two examples. Now we'll take one more for basic conditions only. Let's say Mr. A, right? I'll write here. Let's say Mr. A, right? Mr. A, he resides in India from 21/12/2025 to 19/2/2025. From 21st December 2025 till 19th February 2026. He is in India, right? And in the previous 4 years, previous 4 years, we'll take assessment year 24-25. Why 24-25? Because we are calculating it for 25-26. For us, the relevant previous year is 25-26. So the previous 4 years, 24-25, 23-24, 22-23, 21-22. These are the 4 relevant previous 4 years prior relevant previous year. So in 24-25, let's say stayed for 90 days. 23-20, let's say they stayed for 100 days, right? In 22-23, let's say another 90 days. And in 21-22, let's say 70 days, right? 70 days. How much is it in total? 180, 280, 280 plus 70 is 350. 280 plus 70 is 350. Let me just check. 90 into 2 plus 100 plus 70. Yep, it is 350. Right? Now, in the current year, how much is this? This comes to 61 days. This is coming to 61 days, right? So, in the current previous year, Mr. A has resided in India for 61 days only. So the first condition obviously is not satisfied, which says 182 days or more. This is not satisfied. He stayed for 61 days only. Does the second condition satisfy? That is, he has stayed in India for more than 60 days. Has he stayed in India for more than 60 days? Yes, he has. And remember, and has he stayed in India for 365 days in 4 previous years? Based on the information, he has stayed in India for 350 days only. So second condition is also not satisfied. Second condition is also not satisfied. In this case, Mr. A becomes non-resident. Mr. A becomes non-resident. Assuming instead of 70, this is again 90. So this becomes 770. Then is the condition satisfied? Yes, it is satisfied. Why it is satisfied? Because 370 is more than 365 days. So in the 4 previous years, he has stayed for more than 365 days, and in the current previous year, he stayed for more than 60 days. Then the second condition is satisfied, so they become resident. But if I satisfy any one of the conditions in basic, any one of the basic conditions, if I satisfy only any one of the basic conditions, that is 182 days or more, or 60 days and 365 days, am I a resident? Well, technically no. Why or not? Because the income tax gives us section 6 subsection 6, section 6.6, where it lays out some additional conditions. What are these additional conditions? We'll understand. But before that, you need to understand that if a person satisfies any one of the basic conditions, they are resident. No doubt they are resident, but they have to satisfy all the additional conditions. Remember, they have to satisfy all the additional conditions to become resident and ordinarily resident. Now you'll ask, what is this resident and ordinarily resident? Let me first explain what are the additional conditions, and then I'll draw out a chart. Or let me draw out the chart first, that would be easier for you. If you want to note this down, you can pause the video and note it down. I am cleaning it. Okay. Now, there's an individual, right? So an individual can be 3 things, right? Can be resident or non-resident, but there are 3 categories. What are those? First, resident. Second is non-resident. And the third, deemed resident. Right? Under resident now, you have 2. One is resident and ordinarily resident. Second is resident and not ordinarily resident. And the third category, as we know, non-resident. Deemed resident, we will talk about deemed resident in detail, but whenever it is a deemed resident, that person will always be resident and not ordinarily resident, right? So what is resident and ordinarily resident? What is resident and not ordinarily resident? And what is non-resident? Non-resident, easy to guess, that person or that individual is not a resident in India. What about resident and ordinarily resident, and resident and not ordinarily resident? Resident and ordinarily resident is a person who is a resident in India, and based on the conditions they satisfy all the additional conditions. That is why they are resident and ordinarily resident. That is, ordinarily that person resides in India only, right? Resident and not ordinary residents is, in technical terms, they do not satisfy any of the additional conditions. or this do not satisfy any one of the additional conditions. That is why they are resident and ordinarily resident. However, what does it mean is that a person who, due to the condition or due to the basic condition, is a resident, but generally that person is a non-resident in India. Generally that person is a non-resident in India, but because of any one of the conditions or multiple conditions, that person has become a resident in India. That person has become a resident in India, right? So now, coming to our additional conditions, what are the additional conditions to be satisfied to become resident and ordinarily resident? So the first condition is resident for 2 years or more in last 10 years. In the last 10 years, in the last 10 previous years, that person should be a resident for 2 years or more. That person should be resident for 2 years or more. And remember this, it is and. In the additional condition, it is and. That means both the conditions should be satisfied. Both the conditions should be satisfied. In basic conditions, any one condition should be satisfied, but when it comes to additional conditions, both the conditions should be satisfied. Second is more than or equal to 730 days in 7 previous years. More than or equal to 730 days in the last 7 years, right? So in the 7 years previous to the relevant previous year, a person should have been staying in India for 730 days or more, and that person should be resident in India for 2 years or more in the last 10 years. If both the conditions are satisfied, then that person is resident and ordinarily resident. Then that person is resident and ordinarily resident. If not, if any one condition is not as satisfied or both the conditions is not satisfied, then that person is resident and not ordinarily resident. Resident and not ordinarily resident, right? Let's understand both the conditions based on a example, right? Based on example. If you want to note down, you can pause the video now and note it. So first let me note down the first two conditions, which is so the first condition is more than or equal to 182 days. More than or equal to 182 days, or right, or more than or equal to 60 days and more than or equal to 365 days. Additional conditions are more than or equal to 2 years in 10 years and Remember, it is and more than or equal to 730 days in 7 years. Now we have three cases in, we are taking an example and we have three cases. What are those three cases? One is Mr. A, one is Mr. B, and one is Mr. C. One is Mr. A, one is Mr. B, one is Mr. C, right? So the first, Mr. A, first let's look at Mr. A. Mr. A has visited India. Mr. A has visited India since previous year 2011-12 for 100 days each year. Determine residential status for previous year 25-26. So what does it say is, I'll use this for computation as of now. I'll clean this later. So if you want to note down, you can do it right away. So in previous year 25-26, he has stayed for 100 days. He has stayed for 100 days. So in that case, is my first condition satisfied? Is my first condition satisfied? No, it is not satisfied. So I'll write a no. I'll write no. Has he stayed for more than 60 days in the current year? Has he stayed for more than 60 days in current year? Yes, he has. Oh, I might get electrocuted. Has he? Okay. Has he stayed for more than 60 days in a current year? Yes, he has. But there is an additional condition to it, and more than 365 days in the previous year. Your 4 previous years. Let's look at that. So what does the question says that since previous year 2011-12, he has visited, Mr. A has visited India for 100 days each year. So 24-25 is 100, 23-24 is 100, 22-23 is again 100, and 21-22 is again 100. Total, does it come to more than 365? Yes, it does. Right? Total is 400, which is more than 365. So is the second condition satisfied? Is the second condition satisfied? Yes, it is satisfied. So I'll write a yes here. I'll write a yes here. Next. These are the basic conditions, right? Is Mr. A a resident? Is Mr. A a resident? Yes, he is a resident. But we have to further check whether he is resident and ordinarily resident, or he is a resident but not ordinarily resident. Let's check that. The first condition is in past 10 years he should have been a resident for more than 2 years, right? So how do we check that? Let's go further. Leave the current previous year, that is previous year 25-26. This is called as the relevant previous year. This is called as the relevant previous year. Let's leave this. Before this, we have to go up to 10 years, right? So 2021, 19-20, 18-19, 17-18, 16-17, 15-16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? In each year, Mr. A has come to India for 100 days. So now, in past 10 years, any 2 years, it need not be continuous, it need not be one after the other, it could be any 2 years. Any 2 years, if Mr. A is a resident, then first condition is satisfied. Will Mr. A be resident in 24-25? Yes, he will be. Why? Because 60 days, more than 60 days in 24-25 and more than 365 days in the previous 4 years. So resident here. 23-24, will he be a resident? Yes, he will be. More than 60 days in the current year, that is the current relevant previous year, and more than 365 days in the previous 4 years, right? So he's a resident here as well. Do we have to check the other years? No, we do not have to check. Why don't we have to check? Because we only need 2 years. We only need any 2 years. We have identified 2 years where he was a resident. So we can skip other years and easily say that the condition, the first condition is satisfied. The first condition is satisfied, right? Next, the second additional condition is 730 days or more in 7 years. 730 days or more in 7 years. Again, leave the relevant previous year. Leave the relevant previous year. Before this, you have to go for the 7 years. Before this, you have to go 7 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 7 years is up to 1819, right? Up to 1819. Here you have to remember it is 7 consecutive years. You cannot take any 7 years out of the 10 years. No. 10-year condition is completed. That is only in condition 1. 10 years does not come in condition 2. In condition 2, you have to take 7 consecutive years previous to the relevant previous year. It has to be these 7 years only. You cannot take these 7 years. No, that is wrong. It has to be from here to here only. It cannot be any other 7 years. In these 7 years, how many days has Mr. A stayed in India? 700 days. Mr. A has stayed for 700 days. So if he has stayed for 700 days, is the second condition satisfied? No, it is not. Why it is not? Because second condition says he should stay in India for more than 730 days or more, for equal or more than 730 days in the 7 years. He has stayed only for 700. So since he has not stayed for more than or equal to 730, this is not satisfied. If it is not satisfied, what will Mr. A become? Mr. A becomes resident but not ordinarily resident. Mr. A becomes resident but not ordinarily resident. Assuming first example is done, but let's assume now that in 7th year only, let's assume in this year, 7th year, in the previous year 1819, he has visited for 150 days instead of 100 days. Then the total would come to 750. Then the total would come to 750. Will then the condition be satisfied? Will then the condition be satisfied? Yes, it will be satisfied, right? So one question becomes 100, one is 150. So the total would be 700 or 750. And in that case, it would change, the answer would change to yes. And what will happen? Mr. A would become ROR. What is ROR? Resident and ordinarily resident, right? Resident and ordinarily resident. I hope this example is clear. Now, moving on to Mr. B. Moving on to Mr. B. What is the question for Mr. B? Now, from previous year 2021, Mr. B has visited India for 100 days each year. And before 2021, he has never visited India. Before 2021, he has never visited India. So based on the conditions, or based on the question we have, so relevant previous year, that is 25-26, Mr. B has visited for 100. And when has he visited for 100 days? Since 2021, never before that. So 24-25, 23-24, 22-23, 21-22, and 2021. He has visited for 100 days each year. He has visited India for 100 days each year. Now, coming to our conditions, is the first condition satisfied? 182 days or more? No, it is not satisfied. Is the second condition satisfied? Current year more than 60 days? Yes. More than 365 in the previous 4 years? Let us check. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the 4 previous years, he has been here for 400. So, yes. Second condition is satisfied. Second condition is satisfied. Now, what about the additional condition? What about the additional condition? Is he a resident in more than 2 years in the last 10 years? Leave the relevant previous year. 24-25, is he a resident? Yes, he is. Based on second condition, based on second basic condition, he is. 23-24, is he a resident? No, he is not. Why? Though he has stayed for more than 60 days, in 23-24, 4 years prior that, he has stayed only for 300 days. He had stayed only for 300 days. So, he is, out of the last 10 years, he is resident only in 1 year, that is 24-25. So, second condition is not satisfied. Sorry, the first additional condition is not satisfied. Has he stayed for more than 730 days in last 7 years? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. In the last 7 years, he has visited India 5 times. And each time he has stayed for 100 days. That comes up to 500 days. So there is no question that he would have stayed for more than 730 days. So the second condition is also not satisfied. This is also not satisfied. In this case, Mr. B is clearly resident and not ordinarily resident. Mr. B is resident and not ordinarily resident. Right? Moving on to Mr. C. Trying to make residential status as easy as possible. If you're still confused or getting confused, please let me know where you are confused, in which condition, or how to apply that condition. I tried to make it even more simpler, but I don't think it can be more simpler than this. It's really difficult to make these complicated things simpler. Anyways, moving on to C. So now, in the previous year 25-26, Mr. C visits India for first time. Relevant previous year 25-26, visits for first time, and he visits for 180 days. He visits for 180 days. This is the first visit of Mr. C to India. This is the first visit of Mr. C to India, right? This is the first visit of Mr. C to India. So now, first, always we have to check the basic conditions, irrespective of that person is a first visit or a regular visit or a citizen, whatever it is. First condition. Has he stayed for more than 180 days, 182 days in India? No, he has not, because his stay was for 180 days, right? Now, has he stayed for more than 60 days in the current year? Yes, he has. But has he stayed for more than 365 days in the previous 4 years? No, he has not. How do we know that? Because the question says that this is a first visit. This is a first visit to India. So the second condition is also not satisfied. Now, when the first condition is not satisfied and the second condition is also not satisfied, Do we have to check the additional condition? Do we have to check the additional condition? No. Why? Because the law clearly says only and only if any one of the basic conditions is satisfied, only if any one of the basic condition is satisfied, then you can go for additional condition. Additional conditions are there to identify if a person is resident and ordinarily resident, or a person is a resident and not ordinarily resident, right? If none of the first conditions is none of the basic conditions is satisfied, then the person is clearly non-resident. Then the person is clearly non-resident. So this is not applicable. This is not applicable, right? Both are not applicable. Okay. So this is about residential status for individual, basic conditions and additional conditions. However, the thing is, income tax is not that simple. Our government wants to complicate things. They love complicating it and giving more work to chartered accountants, right? They have added some exceptions to these conditions or these rules or these sections, right? They have added some exceptions. What are those exceptions? We'll look at it now. Okay, the exceptions to basic conditions. What are those is, if an Indian citizen, so the first thing is Indian citizen. Remember, exceptions. If an Indian citizen leaves India for employment, if an Indian citizen, it has to be an Indian citizen, remember, if an Indian citizen leaves India for employment, or obviously this is an or here, or member of a foreign bound ship, it is crew member. Crew member of a foreign bound ship. If a citizen of India is leaving India for employment or as a crew member of a foreign bound ship, then we only have to check the first basic condition. So as you remember now, the first basic condition says 182 days or more. Stayed in India for 182 days or more. The second basic condition says stayed in India for more than 60 days, stayed in India for 60 days or more, and 365 days or more in the previous 4 years. So that second condition, 60 days and 365 days, need not be checked. If an Indian citizen is leaving India for employment or has a crew member of a foreign bound ship, right? Then only 182 days has to be checked. Only 182 days has to be checked. Only 182 days condition has to be checked, right? So there's an explanation to this. What that is the date of joining and the date of sign off. As per the certificate, this you have to remember, because if they ask in exam, you have to write these words only. You have to write these words only. That is, date of joining and date of signing off as per continuous discharge certificate. Date of joining and date of signing off as per continuous discharge certificate shall not be considered, right? So when we were looking at the basic conditions, I had told you that the date of arrival and the date of departure should also be included in should also be included for calculating 182 days or 60 days, right? Date of arrival. But when it comes to crew member, specifically crew member, not employment, crew member of an outbound ship or a foreign bound ship, the date of joining and the date of sign off should not be considered for calculating 182 days, right? If a ship arrives on 1/4 and leaves on 34, the number of days would be 28. So 1/4, let's say 26 to 34, 26 would be 28 days. Why? Because this is not considered. Only period from 2/4 to 29/4 will be considered, right? This condition is only for crew member, right? If it is an employment, that is date of arrival, date of departure, that is the same rule. Do not get confused. There is another condition here. There is another exception. What is that exception? Let's say Indian citizen. Let's say an Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who is outside India, who lives outside India, comes to India to visit during the relevant previous year. I have to write this or else you'll get confused. So, this is one. Then the second one, Indian citizen or person of Indian origin lives outside India, visits India, income in India greater than 15 lakhs. So the condition is an Indian citizen or person of Indian origin, who lives outside India or who resides outside India, visits India, is visiting India, and their income in India, basically their income excluding foreign income but including business income, foreign business income run from India. It gets complicated. You have to read this specifically just to understand income in India, right? So the language of the law is complicated, so you have to read it, but for understanding simple purposes, it is income in India. So an Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who lives outside India, visits India, and here is where we have to draw the line, and their income in India is more than 50 lakhs, then instead of 60 days, it is 120 days. Where does the 60 day comes? In the basic condition, second basic condition, we say 60 days or more than 60 days and 365 days condition, right? There, if these are satisfied, then instead of 60, we have to read it as 120. We have to consider it as 120, right? We have to consider. When do we have to consider? Only if the income in India is more than 15 lakhs, right? Only if the income in India is more than 15 lakhs. This is another exception. Let's quickly look at a problem for this, right? For this, or the exceptions, I suppose, and then I'll end the video here because it is getting very long. In the next video, we'll talk about deemed resident, residential status of HUF, and residential status of other persons, right? So let's quickly look at an example and close for today, or close for this video. Man, when I start talking about income tax, now I don't even realize how fast the time goes. I have not realized it's been more than 45 minutes into this video, and I still feel that I've not even touched the tip of the iceberg for income tax right now. Anyways, so I'll show the question here. It's from ICI material only, right? So I'll read it out. Mr. Anand is an Indian citizen and a member of the crew of a Singapore-bound Indian ship engaged in carriage of passengers and international traffic, departing from Chennai port on 6th June 2025. From the following details for the previous year 25-26, determine the residential status of Mr. Anand for assessment year 26-27, assuming that his stay in India in the last 4 previous years preceding previous year 25-26 is 400 days, right? Okay. So for the previous year 25-26, we have to determine the residential status, right? So how do we determine the residential status? So leaving India, I'll do it simply, but you will have to explain it in detail in your exams. I am doing it for explaining it to you. So left India on 6/6/25, right? Arrived in India on 9/12/25, right? So now here the confusing part is what generally people or students do is, because lack of time or in a hurry, they consider this to be stay in India. This is not stay in India. For this period, Mr. Anand was not in India. For this period, Mr. Anand was outside India, right? And he is a member of a foreign bound ship. He is a crew member of a foreign bound ship. So let us take now. In June, how many days in June? 30 days in June. In that 30 days, 6 days, or on 6th he has left India, right? So that comes 30 minus 6 is 24. But with a big but, here you have to remember that when it comes to a crew member, the date of departure or the date of signing off and the date of joining, this would be the date of joining in the sense joining the crew, and the date of sign off is the date they are relieved from the crew, that is they come back and they go back, they leave the port or go back home, that is the day of sign off, right? So 30 minus 6 is 24, but 6th also has to be included. So in June we will have 25 days, right? 25 days. Then July 31 days, August 31 days, September 30, October 31, November 30, December. In December, 9 days. We have to take the 9th as well, because that is the day of sign off. We have to take 9th as well because that is the day of sign off, and that has to be included to be computing as part of stay outside India. So we take 9. How much is the total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 30 times 5 is 150, 151, 2, 3, 153, 173, 178. Oh, right, 178, 187. $187 is the days outside India. Days outside India. Days outside India. So days in India, days in India is 365 minus 187. 365 minus 187. You can take 366 as well, considering a leap year, but it's okay, right? 365 minus 187, 178. So Mr. Anand has stayed for 178 days in India. Now, since he is a crew member of a ship, the second basic condition, that is 60 days or more, is waived off. You don't have to check. So we only have to check whether the first condition is satisfied. Is the first condition satisfied? That is more than or equal to 182 days. Is it satisfied? No, it is not. He has stayed for 178 days, which is less than 182 days. So Mr. Anand is non-resident. Mr. Anand is non-resident, right? Mr. Anand is non-resident. So I end the video here. In the next video, we will continue residential status. We will look at deemed resident. We'll look at residential status of HUF and residential status of other entities like companies, partnership, AOP, and etc. After that, we'll move on to scope of total income. But for the next video, only residential status, and I'll try to end it there. End residential status there, right? Thank you for watching. Please comment if you do like my video. Hit like as well. Let me know if anything's confusing here or you want me to go slower or faster. I'll try to make some changes into my teaching, right? Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.